Hello, and welcome to the first session of Veil or The Veil Inheritance. This is the third iteration, third module for The Veil, which is a game of cyberpunk PBTA exploration of what it means to be human, what it means to live in a society. And this is another take on that. I'll come back to what exactly that means in a moment. But just know that my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and I am the GM tonight. This session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming community. That is an online gaming group that we have. We have like 100+ sessions each month. That's supported by a Patreon that we have. That gives people a little bit of extra window for RSVPing for those sessions. But outside of that window, anybody can sign up for sessions. And you should take a look at that, find out what it's about. If you like indie games, things like this, especially PBTA, story games, that kind of thing, that's what we have. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. I have a spiel and then I get stuck on it. So I've done this 1,000 times. Anyway, we have a great group tonight. This is a session 0. So if you don't like watching character creation, you might want to jump forward in the video because it's going to be a bit here. So just wanted to tell you that. But what I want to do is walk through our cats, our kind of breakdown of what we're doing. We're going to be stopping off to talk with the players about what they want. And then we'll talk about our safety tools and so on. So the concept of this basically is we're in a future that has space flight. For the players, I've set up that we've got 7 systems. People can move between those. Each system has sort of a dominant AI that kind of oversees things. I don't know how much in control or not in control they aren't. They manage the veil, the sort of ever-present augmented reality that gets shifted around everywhere. There's another AI that controls the sort of the warp points between places. But there's a lot of in-system stuff, and then there's some movement between the systems. That's one of the premises that we've got set here. The other premise is that all of our characters are genetically engineered, genetically created persons for some reason or another. You may or may not be aware of what that reason is. You may not understand. You may know. You may be an artificial being. You may not be aware of your nature. There is a biopunk aspect to this world, which means a little bit of transhumanism, a little bit of self-hacking, and so on. In particular, our characters have been conditioned, and they have with them latent memories, latent experiences, whether those are from real sort of past lives or whether those have been injected into them to create their person is unsure. And exploring those memories, exploring those lives is part of what the game is about. Our characters will have a past life imprinted move that may trigger reactions and events as it goes along. So our characters are a team of, I'm going to call them troubleshooters, because that's what Ashen Stars uses, but they might be bounty hunters, they might be investigators, they might be troubleshooters. There are all kinds of things they can decide that they want to be, but they're going to start together on a shared ship that is barely holding together. It is creaky and basically ready to come apart at the seams at the start of this. So what are we going to do in the game? We are going to take jobs, potentially earn bounties, complete assignments, survive, pay for that survival, pay for that maintenance. But we're also going to try and find something of our character's purpose, and we're also going to try and recover memories. There may be figures and shadows from those memories that may come back to haunt our characters in play. we'll find out about that. But this is kind of a I don't want to say action oriented, a little more action oriented than the rest of the Veil, but it is about who our characters are as people and what it means to be a person in a technological society where that is omnipresent and intrusive at all levels. Yourself is not a defense against the intrusion of the technology, because you don't know where yourself begins or ends at this point. So with that, let me talk about the tone. The reference point that Fraser has given is Cowboy Bebop. I like the idea of anime space adventure with a little bit of noir and a little bit of free improvisational jazz being in there. That's all kind of mixed in. It is not grimdark, but neither is it a fully comedic. So we're trying to hit that middle point, and we'll let the players kind of decide how they want to be with that. So what I want to do, because we haven't necessarily laid out that much, is talk to the players about our palette. I put this on the Lines and Veils tab. It's not a safety thing. Put it off to the side of the safety thing, but I wanted to put it there because it's something for us to talk about. So I want to go around and see if people have ideas for things they'd like to see. Like, this is something I really want in a space game. This is the kind of thing I'd like to see, or things they'd like not to see. Like I don't want Death Stars or something like that. Those are that kind of back and forth, and we'll go around a couple of times and see what ideas people have, and that may also tell us a little bit about what people are imagining for the characters as a whole. So Sherry, you were first on the call, so I start with you.
Unfair.
Arbitrary ordering.
I know. And then thinking of all the anime, I've never watched Cowboy Bebop because I am that person. Everyone tells me that it's great, so I'm like, no, I'll never watch it. Never will. And so I can't speak to that. I'm trying to think of, so my space anime is pretty limited here.
Are there things in a sci-fi game like this that you definitely want to see or definitely don't want to see? Is there stuff that bugs you when it happens?
You could take a lot of this. I really dislike like organ harvesting. I dislike
Okay.
that kind of stuff. I don't find it. Yeah, I guess a lot of like human trafficking is a thing that I do not dig, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, I think
Parts or pieces.
that's often, yeah.
And there's often a lot of that in it for some
Larry
reason.
Niven built a whole known space has a ton of that stuff in it. So okay, yeah. That's a good thing to point out, especially when we've got a game where it's about biopunk. So it is not necessary to harvest or anything. It's because it's probably being artificially grown and printed and those kinds of things. The whole economy that exists that makes that superfluous.
Excellent.
Stephen, anything you'd like to definitely see or definitely not see?
So I definitely like, one of the things I like in cyberpunk is transhumanism, and this seems like a touchstone in this game. What does it take to make a person? Is it their memories? Is it just them? Where is that line? So that's one of the things I'd be looking to see. And I can't think of much that I would be, want to nix yet.
Okay. I think that's fair. Tyler.
We're talking about that we'll have a ship and it's, got its issues. It's a bit of a clunker.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really like and would kind of like to see is there is something special about the ship or special about us with the ship. That sort of thing of we've got the ace up the sleeve sort of thing.
Oh, great. Yeah. I think that is a perfect way to do it. And we can figure that out in play. Like that. Patrick, likes, palette, add, dislikes.
So I was trying to think through, but admittedly distant memories of Cowboy Bebop, which I do love. And Cherry, you should watch it. It's very good. But I was trying to think of sort of like iconic scenes from it, and I feel like there are a lot of like chases, races, like that sort of action scene happening on the go. And as long as we can find ways to like make sure that's not just a one-on-one thing and people are involved, I think that would be cool. From the like foot level of chasing someone through the weird alleys of this like cyber future city, or like in our individual ships or in our big ship or whatever, doing like space chases, space races, that sort of thing. I think those sort of scenes would be fun.
That seems perfect. So I've added that in, chase-based pursuits. Sherry, I'm going to come back around, and do you have anything else you'd like to add, or you can also say pass?
I do like the idea that if we're exploring, I guess what it takes to be a person or a human, is that, and if our ship is an ace, that maybe it's one of the things that's pushing the boundary of human versus, just mechanics in some way. That tie is something like that.
Okay. I'm going to put that in there, and that will be a kind of a play to find out, and we'll leave that on the table as sort of a goal line, I think. Ship pushing the boundary of human self. Does that sound like a good summary for that? Okay, I can hear you in the other room.
Yeah, I know. If that is like not where, if people don't want to go there, that's cool. Just say it. That seems like an interesting thing to me.
Stephen, anything else you'd like to add? Add list?
Not now, no.
Okay, all right.
Pass.
Yeah, and we can certainly add more or later on. Tyler, anything off the top of your head?
I like the idea that there's to be some humor in it, but I'd like some deep emotion. I'd like some pathos.
Okay. Things we like to see. I'm going to misspell pathos. That's what I'm going to put there.
So I thought of something. I would like to make sure, where is that line in humor, right? So I guess X card me or something like that if I go over that line and say something too silly, or if it's not silly enough, something like that.
Okay. So
humor is something I always struggle with in role-playing games. I love having, character interaction humor, but where does it become silly? That's a weird line.
I think that's fair. Let's put that under that watch, so that everybody's kind of watching for where we feel comfortable about the comedic tone of things. Patrick?
I was thinking about the sort of like bounty hunting detective side of it. I like the noir-y feel. I like the Shadowrun-y feel of like jobs that aren't what you thought they were, clients who are unreliable in what they're telling you, that sort of like, we're in it too far to change things now, but we find out that half of what we knew was a lie or a trick or whatever. I like those sort of like setups for things.
Okay. Twisty jobs in noir. Anything else anybody wants to put in as a definite add ban? All right, let me ask you this. This is sort of a key feature we haven't even hit on. Are there aliens? Is this pure humanity, or are there aliens as well? Does anyone have a strong feeling either direction? I see you wanting to talk, Tyler.
Yeah, I could be perfectly happy considering the vast scope of what humanity is in a setting like this, of not having aliens as in, because we're talking about vast galactic
Right.
spaces, so everybody's from different places and planets and stuff like that.
So possibly alien creatures, possibly bioengineered creatures, but not alien peoples.
Is my thought. Now, I am perfectly happy with someone else doing if they'd rather.
What do you, Sherry's giving a thumbs up. What do you think, Stephen?
So to me, in a cyberpunk type setting, there's enough things going on. If there are aliens, it's something almost unfathomable, that you would need, we couldn't really interface with. So it would be a big plot point.
Okay. Yeah.
In my mind.
Like precursor
Yeah.
findings and that kind of weirdness. Okay. Yeah. So no common alien peoples. Oh, I'm gonna misspell people too. Love typing in front of everybody. Okay. So no common alien peoples. That seems great. Are we all good with the sort of the sense of you guys, you all being bounty hunters, like investigators, just kind of taking jobs as they come up? Is everybody cool with that kind of as a very generic thing? Okay. Yeah. We'll keep that open.
I think I'm certainly to start with leaning more towards like chase down and find bounty hunters than like mobile assassins.
Yeah. All right. So that gives us our tone. It says something about the way we're going to be doing things. Last thing I want to talk about is safety. As with all games on the Gauntlet, we are using a layered set of safety tools. All of you have heard me give this speech time and time again, but let me say this. Lines and veils is our starting point after this CATS discussion. We have lines, hard lines, veils, things we turn away from, and then ask first if it were to pop up. We want to check in before we definitely do that. And people have been adding to that. So let me go ahead and talk about what our lines are right now. We have hard lines on harm to animals, harm to children, homophobia. We also have hard lines on sexual assault, slavery, and torture. And then veils for eye injuries, racism, spiders, and then ask first for epidemics, mind control, and sexual content. So that's the basics that we're working from right now. Feel free to add to those as we go along. If, as we're playing, we hit on other topics that you realize, oh, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think that's great at the table. We have the X card as our second option. X card can also be used for tone. If something goes wildly off tone from what you're expecting, somebody goes grimdark, and you're like, whoa, okay, that went too far. That's a fair thing to mark on. We won't ask you to justify your choice, but we may ask a question just to get exactly where we need to cut back to. It's a good backup for the lines and veils. It's these systems that interact and support one another. As I said before in other things, something that Rich taught me, is the first couple of times you're like, I'm okay with it. And then later on, you're like, now this is beginning to bug me. It is legit to X card it later when it pops up. Lastly, open door. If you have to step away for whatever reason, you can do that. It'd be great if you left us a note about that you are or aren't coming back, but that's not entirely necessary. And that can be things are happening around you, physical things, emotional things. I had to step away from a game a couple of weeks ago where it got too much for me. And so if you need to do that, we have that open door for that. All of these fit together. So with that in mind, we are now going to talk to our players about what kinds of characters, what playbooks they're thinking about. So let's come around. Sherry has told me beforehand that I am to ask her last. Given that she is my wife, I will be doing that. Stephen, do you have a sense of what playbook or playbooks you're leaning towards?
So I've just done a quick peruse of the playbooks. I think the linker is what I'm looking at, if no one else is looking at that one.
Okay, I hearing no objections, so moved. Tyler, now your choice has been narrowed down to 5, plus the old playbooks. But no, all of you were like, Pa, we don't want to do old playbooks.
Screw them. I'm looking at Shepherd or Clipper.
Shepherd or Clipper. Okay, Patrick.
I think I'm going to do the mirror then.
Okay. Tyler, which one is singing to you?
Oof. Well, Sherry, are either one of those on your radar? No. All right. I just can't stop myself from wanting to be a pilot. So I think the Shepherd.
Okay, excellent. So, Sherry, it has been reduced down to 3 choices for you.
I know, and they're all amazing. I could close my eyes and just be good. Let's see here. Well, probably, ooh, the Clipper is so very, very clear about what it's doing, isn't it?
It's an interesting take on that idea too.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, why don't, I'll take Clipper, just super purpose driven.
It is so cool.
Okay. So, I'm going to let you work through this. The stats are that you assign to those states are +2, +1, +1, 0, 0, -1. I've put that in the chat so you can see what those numbers are. You don't have to pick your imprinted move right now. You'll pick 2 conditioning picks. Conditioning picks are, I'll read that. You're given curated memories in conjunction to help you perform your purpose. If you fulfill a conditioning, you get to mark XP. If you go against it, your conditioning, then you have to cross out something permanently.
What?
Yes.
What do we cross out permanently?
So you get a choice of things to cross out: 1 emotional state, 1 basic move, or 1 playbook move.
My gosh.
Now, those conditioning things are pretty big asks. So if you want to pick just one of those 2 now, you should feel free to do that, and we'll pick the other one later on. Only thing I want to mention, especially with this game, we'll check in next time to make sure you're happy with your picks. So don't feel like, oh, I've made this choice, I can never get out of this. It is entirely possible if you make those choices.
Question, what is residue?
Residue. Well, let's see. I believe that is a Clipper thing.
Oh.
Yep. That's your, you get Clipper and residue are moves that you get, and you get 1 more. So you'll see, I think residue is essentially leftover garbage from your targets.
Yeah, I want to be more pure than that. All right.
So I'm going to let you do that. Everything else, you can check on the playbook, check on what I've got there. I'm going to let that go and be quiet for a little bit. Okay, so we have some characters on the table now. We're going to go around and take a look at what everyone has come up with. And I'm actually going to, let's see if I can do this right. I can screen share that. So let's start with you, Stephen. Tell us about how you're imagining your character.
Hi, I'm Steven. I use the pronouns he, him. Today I'm playing Annalise Billis, also known as the Ghost, who uses the pronoun she, her. I am the linker playbook, which seems to be about tracking things down. I see her as more of a stealth kind of person. So the moves that she took had to do with hunting things down and being very hidden whenever she does so. So let's see. She has a retractable translucent sword, which sounded awfully cool. Um, and is there anything else you'd like to know?
Yeah, let's walk through. Uh, so we've got a sense that this is a character who is a hunter. What did you choose for your conditioning pick?
Treat everything and everyone as transient.
Ooh, interesting. And what's the coolest thing among your enhancements?
Let's see, probably the eyes, because they have a lot of the playbook seems to be centered around senses and
Mhm.
enhancing them. So it's magnification, multi-spectrum, integrated HUD, that kind of stuff.
Okay,
I
awesome.
do have a question about
Yeah.
enhancements. There is a compensating arm. What does compensating mean?
I believe that compensating uh, means additional strength, but I need to go back to the veil to look at what to actually wait. Let me see if my reference sheet here, I might have one that has the tags. Compensating helps to correct for human error, could remove recoil or compensate for a person's heartbeat, for example.
Nice. Okay.
So then get the cool. So what is it? What does it retract into?
I think it's basically it's a handle. So it looks like an ordinary like handle, but I think that whenever she sends the signal, it will extend out, and it's translucent, so it seems to extend out from nowhere. But I'm sure it's like nanobots or something.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you mention that her style is graceful, is more sort of sneaky, sharp, striking, is more brutal?
um, Sort of a combination of two of those. So basically, I see that her style is more sneak, track quietly and patiently, and because everyone is transient, you know, it's very brutal. It's very
Mhm.
much, that person doesn't really exist. They will come back in some other way. Yeah.
And what did you pick for your moves?
So the tracer gets the move of tracking things down, and the other move that I got was Ghost, which is when you use stealth to conceal yourself, you can do some stuff like navigate an obstacle and leave no clue and stuff like that.
Awesome. And uh, what kind of a ship do you imagine you have? Or do you have like a more mecha suit kind of thing? What do you imagine that on screen when we see you take off on your own that we see you in?
Um, I'll put a picture of it down at the bottom.
Sure.
I found a picture. It's a very sleek, almost, it's a one-person kind of ship.
Uh-huh.
It's very fast and maneuverable. The intention is to, whenever she can't get someplace quickly, you know, on foot or quietly, she'll take a very sleek, fast ship to get to a location very fast and then get out and go the rest of the way on foot.
Okay. Okay. I think that gives us a good sense. How old do people think you are?
Does age really matter?
No.
No. I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of her answer.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it's, mid to early 20s, but it's hard to tell with the bodies that we have, right?
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm actually going to ask you the question, and I'll have you answer it when we come down to the obligation question. I'm going to ask you to give me describe one memory that your character has from somewhere in the past that they can't quite identify. If it's a past life, is it if it's a fragments from a transition, whatever, just a memory that is in there that maybe kind of ties into their imprint. Okay.
Perfect.
Let's come to Patrick.
Hello, hi. Patrick, he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Victoria or Vic, who's the mirror and uses she, her pronouns most of the time, but given the nature of the mirror and her changing body, pronouns change as appropriate. So the mirror is all about shifting and changing and blending in and becoming other people and exploring like the connections between people. Let's see. Conditioning I chose was become what is needed to achieve an objective. Start off with that one.
So the challenge there would be where something is presented to you as an opportunity to do something and you would hesitate.
What do you mean?
So become what is needed to achieve an objective. That means that you always want to do that. So there might be a situation where to achieve an objective, you'd have to become something that you don't want to become, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the antithesis there. Okay. What's the coolest bit of your enhancements?
So my enhancements are sort of basic. I have integrated HUD and linked communication, so I can talk and see with y'all. But most of it goes into reflection biotech integrated into every facet of their person, which is a lot.
What do you imagine that looks like, or what do we see on screen when you use that?
I sort of like that reflection word of it. So I think maybe there is this moment of like disco balling tiny mirrors, shifting lights, like it's sort of like a lens flare sort of feel for a moment, and then her body is just something completely different.
Awesome. And tell me about your gear, because we see something cool there, and I want to know what those look like.
So her fashion, her look is fairly simple, sort of like future bohemian. Simple natural fabrics, flowing cuts, but not like huge, but definitely not tight. It is subdermal implant telegraphing you as a mirror, I think, as an imprint. Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
So I have an ident chip or whatever. But then yes, because they were cool sounding, my weapon is kinetic bolas, 2 harm close, entangling, kinetic detonation, loud, and reload. So they're definitely like neon light up balls. I think there's probably this like energy tether between them and kinetic detonation. So I think there is the default option on them is when they wrap around something and they hit against each other, there's just this like sort of flash bang sound explosion.
Nice. I'm of course thinking of the bolas from the character from G-Force. There. So tell me what your moves are and what they do.
So I have my reflection move, which is when you have time and solitude with another person and mirror their appearance. And I can even change my body to take on enhancements they have. That third option on there is weird. But I'm assuming it's meant to be like the process is not physically or mentally harmful, and if I don't take that pick, then I would choose one of the
Yeah,
harmless.
I suspect I suspect there's supposed to be a carriage return there.
Okay. And then White Rabbit, which I love a lot about this move. I like the reference, but also it's when you take off an article of apparel, you choose who has your undivided attention and who is excluded, which is sort of needed in the reverse way of that move normally being like I can stop people from paying attention to me to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
But also tied into that, should you choose to reveal a truth or a lie to the spectators, you may pose any question to them, and they will reply with the same veracity, which is just the coolest sentence I've read in a PBTA move in a while.
That is very nice.
I'm still looking through imprint.
Yeah. But we'll have you, while you're thinking about that, think about a memory that we'll come back to and ask you about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Let us come to Sherry.
Sure. Let's see here. So I chose the Clipper. I picked the name Forte. I didn't write out her thing. She typically appears as she, her, usually with, her physical form that she tends to use is pretty static. She always has the dark braids, and her skin is a little bit darker, but there are always different lighting effects around her and clothing changes. But other than that, she tends to keep a fairly standard physical appearance with the veil as much as she can. And she has pretty good control over the veil in some ways. I took, for her conditioning, is erase, destroy residue after clipping someone. So residue is a thing of when she eliminates someone that depending essentially what she has destroyed, she may have taken some of that in and she has to deal with it and process it. So typically you will see her being, what do you say, she will destroy it rather than do something lovely and poetic with it, is typically what her impulse is. Her gear, she has a lot of it. Integrated HUD, magnification and amplified. Her ears are amplified, intercepting, compensating. Her arms are compensating. Her legs are responsive. Her interfaces link communications with anyone on the same channel, and she can intercept. Okay. So she's kind of a monster. And she gets fashion suitable to her look, which is suitable to the situation, but she will have one armor. She'll have subdermal implants, telegraphing me as an imprint, of course, 2 cred, and the weapon. And she has an antimatter rifle with scope. 3 harm.
What does that look like? Is that like a big, 6 foot tall anime sniper rifle, or is it something smaller?
Oh, no. It is big. It is, what do you say? It's something that she's very good at pulling out of the veil, if that makes any sense. I think of this as, understand that I took her imprint, and I took her imprint as being the architect. So she's really good with environments and the veil and things like that. And so for her, it's like her rifle it's wherever she puts it. She knows how to make it and just like pull it out of the world around her, if that makes any sense. Does that? But so my imprint move that I chose is there is no spoon. When you manipulate the environment in order to mitigate a danger, roll on a hit, you can reduce any harm that would normally occur by 1, so long as it is fictionally appropriate. Now, of course, the timing on this is kind of odd, but I assume that you could set that up ahead of time. And then thereafter, harm for a while will be mitigated, but I don't know. We can work that out. But I wanted that idea of it is that as a former architect, she manipulates the environment as much as she does anything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And we'll play around with how the timing is on the triggering on that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what we need to do. And then the one thing is I took the standard clipper moves. You get 2 of them, but it's really just one is sort of the during and then the after
Okay.
effect of doing what she does. So clipper is when you trigger the neutralize move, you choose whether inflicting harm clips them. The amount of information permanently erased from the veil and their neurochip roughly corresponds to the amount of physical damage inflicted on their person if you choose to clip them. If they die, all of their data is obliterated. After the conflict is over, consult the residue move. The residue move is when you have downtime after clipping someone, roll on a 10 plus, you're fine and suffer no side effects. On a 7 to 9, some residue from the target makes its way into your neurochip. Take -1 ongoing until you deal with it. Work with the MC to detail what form the residue takes: foreign memories, thoughts, feelings, your harm threshold being decreased, and an emotional state being inaccessible, etc., etc. So, and on a miss, the same, but I also suffer humanity harm and 1 harm AP. Whatever that means, I look forward to finding that out. Hey, Lowell, there's
Yes.
some tea you could be getting. So, and then my special, well, we'll talk about that later, but the move that I chose for my one move that I could choose is I said raw data. When I analyze, I can treat a person as though they were a place or situation.
Ooh, neat.
And that's specifically what I wanted to tie back into the architect with, was that she's sort of very, very manipulative of the veil itself.
Hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so your purpose is to erase people. Like that's your
Yes.
imprint purpose. Okay.
Yeah. Erase their data, their lives. It doesn't say you have to do all of them, just at least some of them, right?
I'm going to ask you a question that I forgot to ask Patrick that I'll come
Okay.
back to ask him in a second. But
All right.
what does your ship look like? Are we talking mecha suit? Are we talking flyer? What do you, I mean, these are all on board the big ship, but everybody has their own little one person thing.
That's an interesting question.
Do you want to hunt for a picture?
Yeah, because I
Okay.
don't have any idea.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Hunt around for a picture and see if you can find something that suits the aesthetic that you're imagining for her.
Okay.
And I am going to come back and ask you the question about memory. Okay.
Okay. And then do we talk about the special or not?
Well, we haven't really dealt with that. I've
cool.
saved that so that can pop up when we do the intimacy thing and we can see what happens.
All right.
Vic, if I swing back to you to hit the question that I forgot to ask you, what are you thinking your little ship looks like?
I'm not sure exactly yet. I was looking through some pictures to try and find some inspiration, but like typed anime spaceship and everything is very jagged and dangerous looking so far, and I'm feeling that that's not it.
Okay.
It is not an obviously dangerous ship, and it's probably not overly dangerous in fact either. But I'll get back to you on more details.
Okay, that sounds good. Then let us come last but not least to Ransom, our shepherd.
Hi, I'm Tyler, he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Rafe Ransom, who has also got he, him pronouns, and he is the shepherd. I think he's an attractive enough looking guy of lots of mixed background kind of to him. I think there's a distinctive European and Asian kind of look, but mixed in maybe a little Middle Eastern. He comes from many peoples. And his conditioning, he has, I don't know if everybody had 2 or if we were only picking 1, but mine said pick 2.
Yeah, everyone can pick 2. I said you could pick just one right now if you want to, or you could pick both.
Okay. Explore the unexplored regardless of danger, and prioritizing a vessel's well-being over a person.
Mm.
And my things that have been all played with on me. My eyes have perfect mensuration, multi-spectrum, integrated HUD. My body is has a reinforced frame built to withstand immense G-force.
So what's the visible sign of that?
Of the body frame build?
Yeah.
I think that there is, and kind of looking at his picture, I think there is an almost, he's muscular and it's defined, but if you got to look at it, it's almost like plastic or porcelain.
Okay.
It's harder than skin.
Mm. Nice.
And so there's an almost unreal look to it. His interface, he has a link communications with anyone on the same channel and a Confluence Nero link, which I don't really even know what that is. Oh, it's to work with my Confluence.
Yeah, with the, yeah.
Right. I'm an imprint, and as such, when I trigger an imprint move and the result of the die is a 1, I take humanity harm after result of the move is established.
And what did you take for your imprint move? So that effect hits everybody the same way. But what did you take for your imprint move?
Do they? I think they're different.
Or are they different ones for?
I believe so.
Oh, I'll have to go look. I think I missed it. There were different effects.
Because I looked down at the clipper and I think the clippers was different than mine, but I may be incorrect. My imprint move is Things Speak. When I handle or examine an object of particular interest to you, roll, and I get to ask questions about it. And that is coming off of the Catabolist old playbook.
Oh, yeah.
And then my other moves, I have the Confluence, which is my base move. Once per session, when I interface with a vehicle, I roll and it gives me hold, which I can spend 1 for 1 to treat a vehicle as an NPC for the purpose of moves being triggered, or take advantage forward on a roll that pertains to the vessel. And I have Steel and Resolve. When you participate in a conflict and pilot a vessel, you always impress, dismay, or frighten your opponent at the onset of the conflict. My opponent will choose which. And my purpose is to merge with, pilot, and protect a vehicle at all costs. And I've taken the idea that our big ship is probably what I pilot most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the Cry Havoc. And we have a pic of it there. And for a personal thing, I believe that I have a sheath, a mech suit. It's not enormous, but it is. Warhammer has a set of these things where you where they put personalities of people once they pass into them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 10, 15 feet tall and bulky. But I think mine is not in the greatest of shape. It's something I tinker on and trying to get it better to kind of offset the fact that really my main thing is probably our big ship. But it's called Dog. It is my dog of war.
Very nice there. Yeah, it does look like there's a couple of people of the different things have slightly different on the imprints, but most of them it is that humanity harm thing. So yeah. And what did you take for your what's your cool piece of gear that you chose?
I have a let's see. I have a rifle, a personal halting response rifle. It is a stun harm bar reload.
Okay. So you've got a big, what does that look like?
My guess is, kind of in the idea that a captain may need to frighten the, either if there's a mutiny or people boarding, it's probably way scarier looking than it actually is. So it's big with this massive muzzle on it and all of that, but it is kind of it's a stun weapon and probably lets out a big old zap as it fires.
Dreadnought. That's what they're called, right?
Yeah.
Warhammer.
For Warhammer.
Yeah. Sorry. The whole time I was like, what's that word? I love that with the big old stun effect. That's That looks awesome. We will come back to you to ask you about that memory
All right.
and to do the obligations. So let us swing back to Annalise. Annalise, you have some obligation questions. You can choose. Let me see how it says. Your character may use the following questions to fill up obligation relationship. If you so choose, or you may create your own questions instead. So it does look like you have to ask questions, but you don't necessarily have to use the ones that are in the book if you have some other idea.
Okay. So I think the first question I'll ask is, do you want to do one at a time or go
Yeah,
through all of them?
let's have you go through all of yours and then we'll move to the next
Okay.
player.
So I hold a secret from one of you that I've if you hold a secret you bonded with someone over and you keep it still, we each have one obligation with each other. So who do I have a secret with? How about if that's Forte?
That sounds awesome.
The image I had in mind was maybe there was somebody that you clipped that we both know about, but it was a mistake. Does that fit okay?
Yeah, that's great. That is actually perfect. Perfect
So
fit.
right now, you both owe each other one.
Okay, so I gotta put it in the right place. Annalise.
And I would put like parentheses secret.
Perfect.
And you'll have one on them as well as you owe, right, Forte or Annalise?
Yes.
Okay. What are your other questions?
Someone help me let go of a target that would have been the end of me. I think that was probably Ransom, Ralph. Does that sound okay?
That sounds excellent. Wraith.
Wraith. Okay, we're saying with the fancy British
Wraith.
pronunciation.
Wraith.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that this was a case where we were working together. We were on the ship. We were traveling. I came back to the ship thinking I would go back after this target, and you took off. And you did it to keep me safe.
I like that.
Nice.
And in that case,
And what does that give?
you have one obligation on me.
Okay.
And then it says, then you erase any available move as per the tracer move. How does that work?
Well, let's take a look at this. What it says. Linker.
Am I reading that right?
For the obligation questions?
Yes. If someone let go of a trace, if someone helped me let go of a trace, then erase any available move per the tracer move. And the tracer move on my book, I don't see it erasing a move.
When you fail to track them down, permanently erase any move able to. Yeah, let's not start with you having a move erase. That feels a little wonky.
I kind of like that, but I'm fine with that. Maybe I'll erase an extra one at some point if it comes into play.
Okay.
It reminds me a lot of the Warren. If you played that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And does the last one? I think that's turning a target you trace for a client. You have one obligation on them. So that could be a PC. There.
Yeah, I think in this case, I like keeping things a little bit tight. So let's make that with Vic. So we keep it all with PCs.
Okay. So somebody hired you to do a trace on Vic at some point, is what
Yeah.
we're saying, right?
I think so.
And, okay, that makes sense. I was going to be offended, but no. Fair.
So you will have one obligation on, and that does work for you, Vic?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back on that memory question, but we're going to get the rest of these obligations. Vic, what about for yours?
So I like mine from the playbook, so I'm going to go with those. First one is if someone was struggling to know themselves better and you reflected them, i.e. mimicked them, in order to help them do so, you have one obligation on them.
Ooh, neat.
Does anybody feel that they were having an internal struggle that they needed to talk to themselves or see their faults played out?
I see Fort.
Forte,
Okay.
please.
Ralph Fort.
Thanks, Hoosier.
Do you have any idea what you were struggling to know better about yourself?
Let's see here. I think Forte knows that they've lost a lot of who they were. And they go through sort of manic episodes of trying to recover some of that. Does that make any sense?
Oh, like trying to sort yourself out from the noise?
Exactly. Figure out what is
Interesting.
their own and what is cruft that they have picked up.
Neat.
Yeah, that is really neat. Okay, cool. So I took an obligation on you.
I know
Then-
that I owe you.
Okay. And then if a reflection went wrong and you required the help of someone else in order to survive, they have one obligation on you. I feel like that might be Annalise. I like the idea of I was reflecting a target or someone tied to them, and something screwed up my ability to change out of it, and I got like arrested and locked up as them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds great. And I think that I was able to pull you like off in this, hide you long enough for you to reset.
So was it it wasn't like going through channels, it was a like breakout escape sort of thing?
No, I don't think it was an escape. I think, so you went to jail and I came in and made sure that you were, what's the right word? Hidden long enough inside the jail so that you could reset. And then they were like, we've got the wrong person.
Gotcha. Nice. Okay.
But I think it took you a little while to reset. Normally this would be very quick, but
Yeah, something went squirrely on the mission.
and what does that mean mechanically?
You have one obligation on me, so I owe you one.
Okay.
And the last one is our wild card one, it looks like.
Yeah, if you've been intimate with someone and divulge something of yourself to them, trigger your special move with them now. Side obligation has make sense for the scene. So I think that falls to Rafe. the fancily named.
Do you imagine that's more of an emotional, a mental, or a physical intimacy?
I don't know. What do you think, Crafe?
What's your move?
Let's see. When I share a moment of intimacy with someone, physical or emotional, I ask a question, and if I wish, you can ask me one of them in return.
I think it's emotional.
Okay. What question do you want to put to Wraith?
This is starting character creation, so let's go with highline stuff. What is your greatest hope, and do you actively pursue it?
Ooh. This I think might even give a playback on one I had as well. My greatest hope is to assemble a fleet. And it's, I imagine myself as this great admiral rather than, just skipping job to job, finding somewhere, setting myself up and being this great admiral. And am I pursuing it? Well, in the kind of way of it's hard to do, but yes, I'm certainly trying to assemble both like-minded people to follow me and the cred to be able to afford it.
So I'm sort of curious, when you say like assemble a fleet, in your mind, is that to use the fleet to go attack something, or is that to use the fleet to defend, stop harm?
It is the intent to find a home and use it to defend it. And,
Okay.
yeah, when you got a fleet, you want to use it. So home may have to expand some, but,
Oh, okay. So if you want, you can ask me one of those questions off my special list.
All right. Look at your special list here. What brings you joy?
That's a hard question.
Well, it is my strong stat, so there should probably be a lot of things that bring me joy.
Me too.
But again, going with easy stuff, I think something that you've noticed is just that, like, the act of changing and that first few minutes of walking around in someone else's body and, thinking through their mind and feeling through their senses, it still gives her a rush. It's not old. It's something that she's sort of like giddy for a few minutes after a change, just to feel new experiences.
Perfect.
And mechanically, did I get one or did you get one?
Mechanically, we assign obligation as makes sense for the scene.
Do you think there's an obligation to be traded there?
As in each of us get one?
I don't know.
Or nobody gets one? Or
you get to decide how. Do you think it's 1 and 1? Do you think it's none?
Patrick, I almost think that either we both got or neither got. What do you think?
I can go with both got, because yours at the very least felt heavy enough to feel like it passed on some weight with it.
Okay.
So if you think they're equal, then we can go with trading.
Let's come to Forte.
Okay. I was supposed to clip someone, but instead I helped them fake their death. I have one obligation on them. So who's the person whose death I've faked and they have a new persona?
I kind of think I'd like that.
All right, Rafe it is. I have an obligation on you. So, but I will put that down.
Yeah, interesting backstory we'll have to explore.
Yeah, I got to write it down. So it's going to take forever because I'm the slowest in these sheets. So let's see here. Characters, brief on them. Second life. Okay, let's see here. My next one, and all of these are awesome. If I have clipped someone for you, so someone who had me clip someone who needed someone clipped.
Erased.
Irrecoverable.
Forever.
Yeah.
I think that was me. And that was whenever I refused to turn in a trace, which was Vic, you clipped them for me so neither of us got in trouble.
Okay.
Oh.
Nice. Does Vic know that?
What do you think?
I like the idea that you kept that secret from Vic.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay. So, let's see here. Secret and okay. And then, now this means this last one's for you, Vic, maybe, unless you hate it. So, and the last one is someone stopped me from doing something that would have haunted me for the rest of my days. It would have been you, Vic. What did you stop me from doing? And it doesn't have to be clipping. We can have fuller lives.
But it's in the name of your playbook.
You know, it's my only verb.
I think maybe it was like instead of tied to your clipping, maybe it's tied to the residue and the different ways you've tried to get rid of it in the past.
Okay.
So maybe you were like, do you think you were like going to a back alley memory surgeon or something to get rid of stuff?
Interesting.
Or something along those lines, like something destructive to help your clearing out those things.
Yeah, like I had found something that worked really well, but it was making me a mess otherwise. But I didn't know that because you never know. Yeah. So you got me off the back street eraser.
Yeah,
That sounds
that
great.
can maybe tie into like the first time that Vic helped you by giving you a sounding board, giving you yourself to talk to.
That sounds great. Bad
That-
eraser.
That brings us to Wraith.
Yes.
How did that go for obligation?
I owe you.
Okay, cool.
I am deeply in debt.
All right. So, I'm going to start with my last one because I think it's going to fill something out here. If you have entrusted a memory of your deepest sorrow or greatest joy, you'd never told anybody else to somebody else. Wow, what a sentence. You have one obligation on them. And I think this is Vic, because I think this goes with where we had the other one before. The one between us.
All right, give me the very complicated sentence again.
I'm giving you a memory of something that is, and in this case, both my greatest joy and my greatest sorrow. And I haven't told anybody else. You're the only one that knows.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
To cut through a bit of the word salad. So the reason that I was almost clipped is that there was a point when I was an officer in one of the more militarized planetary forces, one, probably some larger, not, federation, multiple system sort of group, working as a pilot. And I had been shifted through quite a few of the ships of the flotilla I was a part of, and gotten to know those ships. And one day I decided all those ships were my friends, and I took over the flotilla.
Oh.
And it was wonderful. And then the higher ups stopped me. And I had to go on the run.
That's why you had to fake your death?
That's why I had to fake my death.
Excellent.
So I have one obligation on you from that, which is odd. But I guess it's that I opened up to you. Oh, well. All right. My second is I have mediated a dispute between 2 or more crew members to maintain optimal crew efficiency. I have one obligation on each of you. Who was it? Which 2 of you think you've had a bit of a spat I had to settle down?
And if you want to have one of it be an NPC, I'm also cool with that if you want to come up with somebody.
Yeah, if anybody has an NPC in there they think they had a spat with.
How about Forte having a spat with the ship?
Ooh.
I like it.
Both of them like to have a certain amount of control of the environment.
That's very good, especially because it gives you an obligation on the ship. Then Ransom.
It does, yeah.
Can we go a little bit deeper with that? Can we say that the ship's been clipped at some point and maybe just doesn't like you for that? Maybe you didn't do it, but
Oh yeah, like we have arguments about it all the time.
whether or not it's okay.
Yeah. So, and about what kind of fuckery the ship is up to with me.
So like you, the ship has memories and an imprint and is trying to remember its past.
Yep. Man, we are messed up.
I like it. Very nice.
And my final one, and it would by nature go to you, Stephen, but I actually have a thought on it. So
Feel free to
I'm gonna read it
modify
off.
these.
Here, well, if someone helped you fulfill your conditioning when you otherwise wouldn't have been able to, they have one obligation on me. But honestly, I'm not sure if it's you, Ghost. I think it might be Cry Havoc.
Ooh, interesting.
Does that seem okay? We have a little something between us off of you. I hate to leave you out of mine, but
No, I think that's great.
okay.
Yeah.
And I think that it was I'm
curious which one it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was prioritizing a vessel's well-being over a person.
So Havoc like forced you to take care of them over someone else?
Yeah. I think that I was getting too close to someone willing to give my history up to them, maybe settle down, so it could be both my conditionings, and Cry Havoc would have none of it, and
Wrecker.
she took off with me.
Nice.
Wow.
So we're going to take our break now since we'll run through kind of up to time. Let's take 10. We'll come back. We'll check in on those memories, and then we'll do some set dressing. Okay. So take 10 minutes. So Ghost, what do you think is a memory that you flash back to that we would see on screen?
Yeah, so I think on screen what we see is Annalise is lying in a field of green grass. It's a very bright, sunny day, very idyllic. The sky is blue and there's clouds. And she reaches over and picks like a white daisy. And she's kind of holding it, and the camera kind of zooms in, and we see a Labrador puppy kind of bounding towards her to get her attention. And I think that's all we see on screen.
Ooh.
This is she doesn't ever remember being in grass or this puppy, nothing.
So it's there, but we can tell that she feels very disconnected from it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's go next to Vic.
So Vic, I'm gonna take some inspiration from a picture that I found, and I think it's a dream, a recurring dream that she wakes up from all the time, and it's the feeling of falling, just being in midair, surrounded by nothingness and falling, but not in a fear sort of way. It's this very like sensual memory. There's the like sunset sky that's just full of vibrant oranges and purples, and she can see the clouds in the distance, and it's so high up she can't see the ground. And she has like the smell of flowers and the taste of just being kissed on her lips. And she feels this overwhelming sense of love and being loved. And I think like right at that moment when sort of the gravity would set in and that feeling of falling might be, changing from love into fear. That's that moment when she starts awake.
Nice. Then let's come to Forte.
So the smell of salt water, of sea, of mollusks or shellfish of some kind. You can hear the lapping of water. There's concrete, and there's steps that go so far down. They have to be surrounded by the sea all around them. And it's really dark.
Very much just a collection of impressions.
Yeah, but like super sensory real. And the kind of things that Forte recognizes as something that's too atypical and unpleasant for someone to have made it up.
Nice. And then Wraith.
Yeah, I think I'm going a little more specific. You see it's a city. It is dark. It is grimy, wet, and you see a figure covered in dirty and ragged clothes. And as the figure looks down into a puddle, you can see a face that is just integrated technology all into it. The hand that reaches down towards it is more metal than flesh. And as the eyes lock from puddle to person, we hear this noise at the end of the alley, and we look up and we see this shining, beautiful hover limo. And just for a moment, as the figure looks up, there's the connection to that limo, and they know each other.
Excellent. So we insert title music here, I think would be the bit that we would see the energy at that point. And I think to sort of complete our model of the boogie of I'm going to get that wrong all the time, of Cowboy Bebop, that we see this ship coming in through whatever is the warp zone or the gates, whatever. We know that these happen in kind of near planetary orbit in like one planet in each of the systems, and that going from like outside space down to it means you kind of catch the gravity well and hit the warp point. Going up from the planet requires more energy because you have to break out of the gravity. But let me start with this, and I think I'm actually going to start with you on this, Tyler. What does it look like? What is the process procedure when something comes out of warp? What do we see? What is the you've arrived in X system procedure?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, we have the veil all around us still, correct? I mean, it's like there's still the false realities around us.
So every place has its veil. And in a lot of places, it'll be like corporate controlled for what's going on in that particular veil. I mean, it's augmented reality. And in places that might often fall outside the margins, that's where we've got like system AIs that are maintaining a base level of the veil. But I imagine that there are points, especially maybe points when you go to warp and so on, where that veil is lost, or you have to have like local veil boosters, and probably a transition time when you switch from system to system.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah, the veil might be very different, might look very different when you go from
place to place.
Yeah.
Do we have do you think we would have a ship veil?
You tell me, what do you think? Do you think it's hard, or do you think you have some kind of a veil that the captain keeps up on the ship itself?
Yeah, what do y'all think? Do we have our own like internal veil for Cry Havoc?
Oh, I bet we do. That's what I argue with them about.
Nice.
Yeah, it might not be the most sophisticated.
It is definitely not the most sophisticated.
Does it like lag and pixelate?
I think it would make sense maybe that it's there to keep up something when we're in the vastness of space or in a jump, because otherwise we wouldn't be connected to any veil. So it's probably, the Commodore 64 version of keeping a veil up. It's so
we can see that moment when you hit the shift systems, when it transfers over and suddenly everything kind of goes low res.
I think that's a neat idea. And it does a cool thing for us cinematically, in that when we arrive at a system, we go from the Cry Havoc version that people will see anytime we're traveling to whatever the veil is there, and we'll immediately know a difference and have a sense a little bit of what the system's veil is. Oh, that's neat.
So, like, do we look like we're cell shaded when we're in Cry Havoc? You know, like there's dark outlines around everything.
Or 16.
It's either that or 16-bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that
What are you,
pixelated.
Minecrafting it?
Yeah, I don't think we're quite that bad.
So what kinds of authorities slash payment slash like entree procedure is there, Forte, when you come through and then suddenly there's sort of this transition of the veil when you go through this warp point, arrive in that orbit?
So the standard payload that you're bringing in is data from other systems, and like all ships kind of have scoops that are harvesting that stuff that needs to move from one system to another, kind of like mail, kind of like things. But essentially they have like, you know, your private vessels sort of carry the packet load of bringing those things along, and that's part of your payment for coming in. So the first part upon entering is actually them loading all of that down there and going through it and assessing how much you've earned, whether it's enough to dock, and then to pull from other accounts. And there are sets of different approved currencies for each of the different systems. It's one of the things is you might have a ton of money in one, but none in the other, and then you have to try to get a transfer or something like that. So I think that's partially what's going on all the time.
I like that. Vic, what is, and I'm going to ask you this first question, and it'll be the second part you're going to answer, because you're going to answer the second part first. What is the sort of theme of the system when we get to the planets and stuff? What is the theme? Are we mecha industrial? Are we gritty? Are we terraforming? Are we built up arcologies? Are we casino system? What do we think we have here for the system that we've just arrived in?
I like terraforming. That sounds fun.
Okay.
Like it's in the earlier phases of colonization.
Yeah. So when we come in, we can see that a lot of the planets have those big mega terraformers that are operating in places, and we can see where some of the planets that, you know, those have finished up, so they're kind of privileged and upscale. You know, this is the new settlement. You bought in on the first level of condos on the new terraformed planet, but we see the other machinery going there. What is the name of this system?
Visage Terminal.
Visage Terminal. And Stephen, last question I'm going to ask you: what is the veil like here? And as importantly, like, there's an AI that kind of runs the default system veil when it's not in corporate land. What is that like? Is there a connection between the two? What is that?
So I think to a certain extent, because we're dealing with kind of a terraforming kind of situation, I think that the physical world is a lot more harsh, and the veil is sort of an idyllic escape for everyone inside this harsh world where they can go to. And the purpose of the AI here is to keep all of the workers here happy and keep them satisfied so that they can go back and work more.
So it is
sort of like lush garden land.
Yeah, I imagine that it's very idyllic. It's very pretty. Probably not too pretty to make you feel bad, but enough to see what you're working toward. So there's, it's pretty and relaxing, but there's still a little bit of darkness on that, like Forte was saying earlier with the concrete's there, it's lapping, you can see mold, but it's still, much better than, the real world here.
And you have arrived in system. There are a couple of planets in that you're probably the warp point is here by the oldest planet, the most terraformed. And you come in system and do that data transfer. There's that cell back and forth, and Cry Havoc. What makes that sound that it makes when it has to kind of vomit out this data, and eventually, actually, Tyler, let's have you make a roll. What do you think the roll is for how much data? What do you want to roll with to see how much data you've generated in the last system about how much crunch you're going to be under here?
Oh, okay. I think I'll be rolling with power. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
All right.
Put a check mark on power and roll.
Yes. Let's see. Which end do I? Yeah, start on that end. There we go. All right. I should have set up dice. All right. Oof. Oof. An 8.
An 8. So there'll be that bit where you see essentially the system think of hi, and welcome to Visage Terminal, the new face of space exploration. You are at 80% on payment from this. 20% is owed. That is being deducted from your coffers right now. Thanks so much. Would you like to be put in charge and in touch with the employment office? Would you go to like a domestic employment office, or do you have people that you go to?
Yeah, okay. So we're coming here with hopes of getting a job.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll go to crew and say, do we think we're coming in just blind to a place that we know there's probably stuff they'll need? They're a new place, or do we have somebody here we're meeting?
I like the idea that we're going in blind, because we had a snafu in the last place we were at.
Sound cool? All right.
So
yeah.
So I imagine then that you don't have a fixer you go to, you don't have a guy that Instead, you have to pull up the stuff and kind of flick through for the kinds of jobs that you would do that would pay well, that you're not sure, you don't have anybody to vouch for the client. That is the problem. But you will get one that will pop up that the algorithm matches your crew and spec and qualifications to this. And it says, this is an extraction in system, moderate to low danger, moderate to high pay, because the window is short. Would you like to know more?
Having slammed this on back to the galley, let's see what folks are thinking. And I'll kind of make motion and stuff will transfer as I go stomping back to where everyone is.
I imagine that the readout and stuff kind of follows you like a kite through the ship, kind of holographic as you move along. So what is, let's now ask Ghost, what does the galley look like?
So I think the galley surprisingly is made, has like nice wood. It almost looks like a picnic table that's very fine. This is very unusual in ships, but it's kind of, I think we repurposed it. And we pull out the typical rations, which aren't very tasty, but they get you by in space travel.
Mm-hmm.
We sit down to kind of share them and pick at each other's food a little bit, because it always tastes much better if it's on someone else's plate.
And you all will kind of sit down, a little bit, maybe the zip sound of those things being opened up there. Victoria, do you like this food? Do you dislike this food? What are your aesthetics?
I don't particularly like this food. I'd prefer something, more original to the source.
Yeah, not space kibble. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The kind of stuff that when you pour it out, it kind of jingles in the bowl when it hits. So this thing, it pops up. It's kind of hanging in the air with that. Do you want to know more? And the press button there.
Well, team, it was highway robbery for us to get here, but looks like a nice job. But it's they need an answer quick. I look down at the food. Havoc, at least make it look pretty. And I think we get the interface of the local veil to make us even look a little picnicky to go with our table.
Oh yeah. Though I think that probably Forte's food still looks a little rough.
That's okay. I like sardines out of the can.
So you'll hit that. There'll be that exchange of tokens. Space Bitcoin goes back and forth. That goes through, and we'll see a figure come up on the screen. Very sharp face, older woman, bun hair, back, black with the kind of the white V that we've got here, and she's clearly looking over, and she says, "Captain Ransom, is it?"
Yes, ma'am.
You have reasonable ratings. They're within the margin of what I can accept for this. You are
Glad to hear it.
You are in orbit of Phasia, the main planet, I believe, right now.
Yes, ma'am. Just in system.
There is a extraction that I need done on planet. I am acting as an intermediary for a secondary client. There is a disaster tourism cruise going on currently. Essentially, highly placed people doing a cruise tour of terraforming accidents on the planet. It's a sort of a backdrop. There is a person that, I should say, my name is Frau Laurent.
A pleasure to meet you, Frau.
There is a person on the ship by the name of Romero. I will give you images and so on, and I need him quietly extracted from the cruise liner with a minimum of people being aware of it.
Is this a friendly extraction, as in Romero wants to leave, or is this going to be a little more heavily suggested to him?
I don't think it would be too untoward for me to tell you that Romero is the client.
Ah, well, that's good.
he is there with his wife and his wife's family and some other highly placed people's families from Phasia and from the system lords. So he needs to be extracted within the next 72 hours.
And him alone.
As I understand it, there may be additional materials, but you'll be paid commensurate with whatever else needs to be taken as well.
But no other people.
As far as I am aware, she says.
And is this a public extraction? Meaning he has to be seen?
No, ideally, he needs to vanish.
Ah, perfect.
Without people being aware that outside forces have come in and removed him from the situation.
Anybody want to probe, or should I?
Let's have somebody else make a roll.
Yeah, I've already rolled.
Who do you think of you as the person who reads people the most? And Sherry, you are muted if you're talking.
I'm not. Yeah.
Victoria?
Oh, Vic.
Yeah, I think Vic would be trying to get a sense of this woman. You know, this is a new system, a new source for jobs. We want to make sure that she's not glossing over anything important.
Absolutely. Let's have you make that roll.
I don't think I'm quite joyful about this, but I do think like this is a new place, a new opportunity. There's no reason to be worried about anything here. So I think this is peaceful.
That seems good.
Trying to work out an arrangement that would be good for everyone. Oh gosh, this changed a lot, didn't it?
Yes. I've been just hitting the 2d6 button at the top and adding my mod.
Oh, there's a 2d6 button. Lovely. Love it. Okay. The things. Okay. Well, I got a 3 and a 0, so that seems unlikely.
Wait, what?
No, you got 3 plus 0. You rolled a 1 and a 2.
Oh. Where do you see the? Oh, I see. Gotcha. Sorry, I'm just trying to process new information.
Yeah, the 2 dice are listed down below.
Gotcha. That's not an old roll. That's me. Yeah. So that was terrible, even with my +1.
So this woman seems entirely on the up and up to you. Entirely like she's very glad to have all of you and values all of you.
I would trust her in all matters. Is this
Get a real
XP on
positive
this?
vibe off of her.
I think we're sort of, yeah. Is this XP on a miss? I forget.
I don't think it is, but I'm going to give you that right now because we have to figure out the issue questions. We haven't worked those out because I didn't want to do everything tonight.
Gotcha.
But go ahead and mark an XP.
All right, cool. Do I need to? I put a spike in it because I rolled with it. Yes.
You put a dot in it, yeah.
Okay.
So may I ask the question to
Yes.
Frau? Is Romero's disappearance supposed to suggest that he is dead or otherwise destroyed?
I was not given information on that, just that it should not be immediately known that he is not there.
Oh, so you just want a very quiet extraction.
That is the intent. Go meet with him, extract, check and see what else needs to be taken. Get him out from under the noses of the people that he's with, and the cruise liner security. And that should be very easy for you seasoned veterans.
Gaze around the table to see if we're all in agreement. Well, Frau, I think you've got yourself a crew.
Excellent. Then I'll put the deposit in the holding account for you.
And the payment is what now?
And she gives you a modest, I mean, it's a moderate number. It's commensurate with the difficulty here, but not much more.
All right, I suppose that'll be sufficient. Thank you.
Would you like to try and negotiate with her?
Yeah, let's try and negotiate. It had on there, it could be high.
So this will be sway.
All right. I think I'm rolling here with. I think I'm a little mad because it was stated, this was from moderate to high, and she's low balling us. Not full on pissed off, but a little like, surely this could be done a bit better. I roll boxcars.
Choose one from the sway.
All right. I did choose one. I guess it'll be. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with we'll owe him a future debt.
She'll say, she stops and she lifts up her chronometer cube and she sets it down. All right, I can raise, and she, takes it up to the next tier. But I want a full report of everything that occurs. Clearly, like, even if the client says not to say anything, she wants a full report.
Of course. You're the one paying the bills.
Excellent. Well, you should get started. And she's down.
Well, gang, this seems like a cakewalk. Go in, snatch somebody who's tired of the in-laws. I mean, hell, what could be better?
With the last situation, I would tend to be worried, but I don't know. There's something about her. I think this could be a long-term contact for us.
Well, that's good to hear. Ghost, let's be honest. It's a lot of it's going to lay on you for finding out where they are and what security might be.
Slipping in, I agree, but if there's any memories that we need to end up wiping, I think we all have our part to contribute.
All right, well, Gravik, set the course. We got a job.
And I think we see you dive down into the atmosphere here. What do we see on screen? How do we see the terraformers operating as we go over the landscape, Stephen?
So I think as we zoom across the planet that's being terraformed itself, we see all these robotic construction mechanisms that are basically going in, and we see like these fork loader lifters, and they're kind of running through, like you can see they're like a extension, and as they run through the local landscape, you can see it's modifying things, and there's like an energy field in between those lifts, and as it goes through, it's kind of just rewriting whatever used to be there. So it's going from this like dark brown sludge into like granite rock and other structures and stuff like that. And we can probably see tiny people that are, on the controls of this thing as they're controlling it
These
through.
bands and cross patterns of these things working. And we see you, running through, checking where the ship is, the cruise vessel. Forte, what is the name of the cruise vessel?
Ooh. I think it's something like Carpe Diem, like they decided to sound sophisticated, old, dead language,
And you'll see essentially it is literally like a space cruise liner, but it is moving over the surface of the planet, which also means that it's doing some damage to the ground below, even as it does that. But you can tell this is a high end, like ritzy, wealthy cruise liner on an assigned cruise with an assigned path. So getting on is going to be a question.
It seems unlikely that Cry Havoc can just go up and dock, certainly, and just do it quietly. I know that all of you have your like personal vessels, right? Because each of you has a ship. Nobody else chose a sleeve, did they?
And we assume that your mecha can fly, certainly in Atmo.
But so we can send out personal ships to try and get aboard. Do we want to go in as a unit, or do we want to split up? Yes, ma'am.
So I suggest that we have our vehicles track us, but we actually look along the path, choose a point at which they'll be the closest to the surface, and essentially do a physical low profile leap to the hull and make our entree from there.
Like without a ship.
Oh, our ships are off, but yeah, no ship.
Just
right there.
us bodily do a.
Yes.
Okay.
We may exit otherwise, but probably as subtly as we can.
How do folks feel on that? Ghost, can you get us in quiet?
I can get me in quiet.
Vic.
We'll see what else I can do.
Vic, you certainly are the lowest profile of us. You feel good with this jump?
She sort of looks around. How far of a jump is this again?
You're muted, my love.
Assuming you use like a gravitic or magnetic line launcher, and probably the closest it'll come to the ground to be about 100 feet.
Not bad.
If we choose one of the disasters, there's probably actually veil there that we could manipulate to hide ourselves. It'll be fine, Vic.
Fine. And she looks at you and she nods as a sort of like aha moment comes to her. It'll be fine. I'd like to reflect Forte.
Ooh, interesting. Let's have you roll.
I think this is joy. This is obviously a brilliant idea, and this is going to make everything go great.
Absolutely.
Mother. That's a 4 + 2 is 6.
So
Oh, gosh.
you get one of
And
the effects.
I will say the what I was trying to go for with copying her is that Forte has a lot of physical enhancements, the steadying arm and the boosted legs and stuff like that. And I was trying to build a body that would copy those enhancements.
Can I
That's-
assist?
Can you assist? Well, it's been a while. Let's look at the help or hinder.
Yes.
See how you do so and roll. On a hit, they take +1.
Right. I guess I will try. And let's look at my emotions, because this is always the part of myself where my brain goes, eh.
And then you tell me how you're assisting.
Yeah, exactly. I think this sounds weird, but I think it's power for Forte, because she recognizes what you're doing and she leans into it, if that makes any sense. And I think how she helps is she actually she brings the ship's veil down and exposes all of her HUD stuff, like the specs and everything. So it's just that kind of floof, like just hands you the specs. Does that make sense?
Good.
So now I'm going to roll with a +1.
One of my few enhancements is I do have a HUD display, so you can transfer all that right over.
Cool. Now all I got to do is find this rolling room. I can do it. It's with me. And then I'm going to roll 2d6 and hope I roll better than you did.
Please.
And I add 1, so it gives me a 9. So I got at least a +1.
Okay. So that'll boost it up. So you get 2 picks.
So I'm going to take on enhancements they possess, and I don't need to pass for Forte, so I'll have it not be physically or mentally harmful. This is a familiar form. It's one I've changed into before, so I think as you download those specs, she gets the sort of like, oh, right. And then there's just this like lens flare that you can't quite see through, and then there's a second Forte standing there, like flexing her arms and sort of doing a couple of jumps unnecessarily. Like, ooh.
Dance moves. That's what she.
Wait, so you are copying her?
Yes.
So
You said that you're not. You don't need
What?
to.
First you said you weren't, and then you said you were in that sentence. Are you copying
What?
her appearance?
Yeah.
Okay. So when so in that case, you both take harm.
You'd had the option of trying to pass for them, and you said you weren't going to do that.
Oh, I don't need it to be a close scrutiny pass.
Okay. Perfect.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying there.
Yeah, I think like the hair color is wrong, and the face still sort of like looks like a melding between the two of them. But the body is all the same shape and size now.
That is perfect. Let's come to Ghost. I think we cut forward to this site with all of you waiting. I imagine that Cry Havoc is not entirely happy about all going, but they're hanging back in the sensor shadow. The other ships and things are primed to launch. They can be there in a moment's notice. And you constantly hear their drone in the back of your head, Ransom. But you're on this space, and this big cruise ship comes over, kind of launch this lineup. So what do we see, Ghost?
Yeah, so I think what we see is Ghost basically takes part of the veil and manifests it and uses this sort of like a harpoon gun and fires into the underbelly of this giant beast as it's coming across. And then this is the slip that we're going to use to get to reach the ship itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should I roll my ghost move?
Yeah, I think had enough time to set up that I don't think the environment is necessarily the challenge here. This is we know you're going to get up, but it's about getting through the ships like localized sensors and hull breach things and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see what I get.
What do you want to
roll this? Yeah, I think this is my job, right? So I have to roll this with power.
Absolutely. Mark a tick on power and roll.
Yeah. So I got a 10 plus 2 is
Nice.
12.
Hold 5.
Like Ghost is so much cooler than me. It's my great tragedy.
And I can spend 1 hold in order to do this. And I can spend plus 1 hold per person accompanying me. So for 4 hold, I can get us there undetected.
Yep. And you can get 1 more on there.
And I think whenever it says extricate, this is later.
Yeah, that'd be if you were in a situation where you're under severe pressure. That would be the pick for that. So
I think this is leave no clue or trace behind. And I think the way that looks on screen is Ghost is first and basically attaches this little slipstream thing to her belt and zips up there and is immediately at a console. And as everyone else starts to zip up, we see an alert and she closes that down and she kind of diverts it and makes sure that we all get up there, we're not noticed, and then there's no trace, no recording of what just happened.
Absolutely. You're in the underventing of the ship, down in the bowels of it. You come in, hit essentially what would have been like a garbage drop console, got that set, and the 4 of you are on board. And I imagine we then see you like taking off, and now you're probably in either local like workers uniforms for the cruise line, or else probably fancy dress. And I think that's where we're going to stop.
Can I do something real quick? And I know it's
Absolutely.
a little grubby, but I'd like to get my confluence in at the end of this session. Then that would free me up to have it again for the next.
Absolutely.
All right. I think as we come in and we're set up with we've got Ghost has kind of cleared us down and has that console open. I'm going to move over to it and say, hey there, big boy. How you doing? And I'm going to attempt to make friends with this ship.
Please roll with confluence there.
And
what's your mood?
I'm feeling joy on this one. I love it.
Nothing's going wrong.
Let's see. Well, that's a 10.
That is a 10. So mark 3 in your special hold.
I will do so.
Let's have everybody mark 2 XP just to kind of set us up here for things going forward. We'll take some time to talk about the questions next time, but we'll pretty much start in medias job. So if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind doing a quick stars and wishes, things you're digging from this, but as importantly, like where do you hope your character is going to go? What do you hope is going to be on the table or available? Does that sound okay? Captain, as with all things, we start with our Captain Ransom.
To throw a little positive out first, I love how these characters are looking. There's, for us to have kind of randomly decided what we've got, we are a pretty impressive team for the jobs. Infiltration, muscle, someone to be spy and get into stuff, a pilot, we look like we have the ability to do a lot of neat jobs.
Yeah.
I like kind of the feel of coming into it, and there's that very interactional, we have to pay to come in. There's, it has an economy that is oppressive in a way. And I think that's cool. That pushes us towards why we have to do jobs. So I'm really pleased with this early onset bit. For wishes, I'm looking forward to kind of the high adventure. This sounds like a high adventure heist feel. So I'm looking for that sort of Ocean's 11, that sort of, feel where things can go out of control, but at the same time, we're very competent at what we do, sort of neatness. I think that's interesting. And I'm really looking forward. I don't want to be stuck in one system, but I am kind of looking forward to what the good Frau has back behind her.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely make sure we get some of these ops which require you to be in the ship to get done what needs to get done. I just want to confirm on that. Patrick?
So let's see. For one sort of wishiness, I figured out where we had that moment of confusion on the reflection move, because the trigger for it says with another person and mirror their appearance, but then one of the specific picks is to look just like them.
Yeah.
So I was sort of like making some assumptions here in my head. So I need to rethink through that move and consider like when it's going to be me but different, or when it's going to be them, or the sort of different ways it can go. But I think that's where that came from.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
This is super cool. I like our crew too. Tyler, I know you're really torn between playbooks to pick, but I think for the group, the Shepherd is going to be a really interesting pick. It's really it's already brought some focus and personality personalization to our ship. I always think it's cool to argue with an AI, especially one that you live in. That's just the best and worst. It's wonderful. I don't know. We just sort of got into it. But things I'm really looking forward to. I'm loving this idea of the different veils and the transition from one to another. Like I would like to keep that in the forefront and not let it become routine just yet.
Yeah. Like I imagine when you guys get into this cruise ship, immediately like that corporate cruise ship veil like is there and present and overriding. Yeah.
It's making all of us look better.
But it's a neat element where where Cascade brought in this idea of the transhumanists like switching around bodies. This idea for me with the switching veils is like the externalization of that. Like you walk from one reality to another depending on who you're paying or which Wi-Fi network you're hooked up to or what system you're in. And I think that's cool. Also, Star Wish, I really enjoyed the like very mystery noir story flashback memories that we had, and so I'm super excited about seeing like how those get expanded and worked into the story and the emotions that come out of that.
Awesome.
Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. I am too, honestly. Stephen?
So I'll start with wishes. One of the things I'd like to see, and we just touched on it there at the very end, I want to see the differences between like our ship and this ship, and maybe using the ships as NPCs
Mhm.
and the interaction between them. That was unexpected for me, and I kind of really like that idea of having these ships as an NPC and seeing the interaction with them. And as far as stars, just like everyone said so far, all of these characters are very evocative. I really like the playbooks that I've looked through and how they, the moves and how all those fit. I have to admit, so this is a wish. It's a little bit confusing for what are they called? Uh the move from other playbooks, the imprinted moves.
Yeah.
Um the only reason I say that's confusing is because I find it better if there's more limited choices,
Mhm.
especially at the during character creation, and I'd like to see that get narrowed down so that it's a lot easier to get a hold of, or maybe that's only an advance you can take later.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do think I hope that the final version has some guidance on adapting things over, and maybe even for the different playbooks, like here are 6 recommended imprint moves. If you don't want to look through everything, here are 6 that you might
Yeah.
choose from.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, maybe just, especially like you're saying, Stephen, for that very first one to choose, like, here's a limited list to look at, and in the future you can choose from anywhere or build your story how you want or whatever. But let's get through character creation.
Anything else, Stephen?
No, so getting to that, I think I really appreciate the fact that you kind of walked us through character creation and we only did part, and you said that we'll figure out some of the rest of it in the next session. It was really smart to split that up, so thank you.
Sherry.
Let's see here. I really like these characters. I like how the obligations got us to right to, you have a strong sense of how they're interacting with each other, what's important to each of them. It feels good. I know how I act with the other people, and I really, really dig that. I also, for me, when I saw the imprinted moves, I had the impression that this was like the idea that you may have played another Veil game and then you come over to this one.
Mhm.
So it's that idea. And so I just used one of my old characters from another Veil game. So that's why she has digital architect, and that. So that made it very easy for me. So I could see how, if you have everything in the world to choose from, it would be a little off. But if you have a character that you love from the past, then you just go through that and go, what part of that am I going to bring forward? And that was pretty cool. And yeah, I'm kind of excited. This one seemed these playbooks seemed pretty readable to me. And that is not always something, but I know that you clean them up. So
I know. No, these are taken from the latest sheet, so that I didn't change any of the text on.
okay. All right, good. Well, then I kind of knew what I was doing the whole way through, which is a little bit different than my usual Veil experience. But that's just me. I have, my brain works a certain way. So I enjoyed that. I have to move my gear into the right places and my tags and all that stuff. But, and whoever cleaned up my character sheet for me, thank you very much.
I'm guessing that's
know.
Patrick.
I'm guessing Patrick. Patrick is, yes.
Who
Patrick has
could
the
even
chops.
say?
Exactly.
Patrick the Cleaner Knowles.
But I'm still looking forward to this. Yeah. So that's what I got. Wishes. Let's see here. I wanna kind of look at all the different ways you can clip someone without clipping, in the sense of like deading them. There's the idea of you can erase their digital footprint. You could do that just for a little bit. It doesn't mean that you have to completely wipe them out. So kind of using those skills that way sometime. And just
a risky maneuver, but yes,
risky
possible.
maneuver, but yeah, it could like, clip too much and it would be inconvenient for him, but take a little chunk out of his knee, but we'll see. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. So very fun.
Awesome.
May I ask
Awesome.
a question?
Yeah.
Is clipping part of removing memories and stuff like that? Is that right?
Yeah.
It's kind removing their the way that I read it, it's very much their existence in the veil and the extent of their identity that lives in the veil, but also backing them personally. If you're going to wipe them out, you have to take out their memory, like whatever's been uploaded, all that stuff.
So it's sort of like person hacking.
Yeah, a person destroying. Yeah.
So if we just declared ships as NPCs to a certain extent, could you do that against the ships?
I could.
We've established, we've already established that's possible.
Well, we have to be a little careful with that. And I'm just saying this to give some strength to my character. The reason I'm able to do some of the NPCing on a ship is because my special move lets me interact with things like that as NPCs. That is not an automatic.
Okay. So I think if we wanted to do something, it would have to be through the lens of your operations.
I think Tyler and I would have to work together for it.
Or so I had this image that our ship was clipped from a shepherd who had clipper moves.
Right, because there are other shepherds out there.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great.
Interesting. All kinds of good, rich stuff there.
Yeah.
Before you end, I would like to take a page from your playbook in our last session, and I do want to star myself. Tell me, Cry Havoc is not one of the greatest names ever. That is an awesome name.
It's great because we can also refer to the ship as Cry, which is an awesome. Yes, it's
absolutely 100% there. Thank you all so much. Let me stop that recording.